Download waiting. Download installer. Download their whatever and download zip.
Okay, so yes, useState returns an array with two things. The first thing is the state. The second thing is a function for changing the state. So as you can tell with JavaScript spreading, you can name them whatever you want. Just that you have to keep on using that name. So that's why we do this structuring, because it's tedious to start saying useState initial form values um, square brackets 0 or square bracket 1. That's just annoying. Okay.
Okay. So
Then
inside sorry.
yeah, no, continue.
The first one here, which is form values,
Yes.
is like a normal variable.
Yes, like a normal variable.
Okay. Then this set form values is like the function.
A function that can change the value of that
So
form
can
values.
change.
Mm.
Okay.
So now in the use
Understand.
state brackets, you now put the initial value, like what you want that
So
state
what is
to begin
different
as.
between the initial form value and form value?
When this page loads, this use state function will run on line 9, and it's going to give this value you put inside here to form values. That's why it's called
Okay,
initial value. You
that's
know,
the empty.
form value has to start as something. If you don't put anything in here, then that means it's undefined. So form values will be undefined when the page loads, and then maybe you can use set form values at any point to change it to something. But usually, you want it to start as something. So whatever you want that state to start as, you put it inside the brackets, so that when the page loads, that will be the value, the first value that will be given to
That will
form
come up.
to that state. Yes. Okay. So now, um, we're only doing this for name and message. So in name, go to the
Okay.
name input. No,
Here.
the name input down.
Okay.
So add a new property called value. Okay. So is equal to brackets. No, brackets.
Bracket.
Curly braces.
Currently,
Yeah.
Braces.
So
So use
form
curly braces.
values dot name, because form values is an object, but you want to give it the value of name inside form values. Huh.
Okay. So
Mhm.
form value. Oh, so
is it values
You
or
can
value that you use? Okay,
no, you can
values.
see it up there when you hover on form values. You see what's
Okay,
inside
okay,
it.
okay.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
form values is taking the place of the initial form values.
In
Sorry,
initial
I don't
form,
think so.
when you create something like initial states,
Yes.
it's only going into that use state function. You won't use it anywhere else, except maybe in a function where you are trying to return the state back to its initial values. Like for example, by the time we click the submit button on this form, we would like
Yeah.
all the values to go back to 0, to nothing. So maybe at that
Okay.
point in time we can set this, the value back to initial form values. But aside from that, you don't really need that object, initial form values.
That was created. Okay.
What you are
Okay.
using is form values, because it's
Oh.
dynamic. It's the one that would change according to what you are doing. Initial form
Mm,
values is a constant. You saw now, you even used constant for it. It's not changing.
okay. Okay.
Okay, so for message as well, but the thing with message now is text areas don't use value. That placeholder you put safe in text area is not, it's not even recommended.
Mm. Should I remove it?
mm, I don't
It will
think.
not show. Will it
No,
show?
it should. I saw the picture, it should.
Uh,
But Text area, they usually don't use placeholders. They just write their stuff inside.
They
Oh,
Yeah.
no worry,
do
no worry, no
sometimes.
worry, no worry.
They
Leave,
do.
leave the
They do.
placeholder. Leave the placeholder. But inside the text area, okay, what I'm sure of is that they don't have value. Like they don't have a
Okay.
value property.
Okay.
So inside the text area, put these curly braces again.
That's with just curly braces only.
You can just copy
But
from the curly braces you wrote up there.
this
Just
one like this.
yeah, like that. So you just change the name to message.
Okay. So I should
No,
not
not
use
there,
but
not there, not there. Like
okay.
in between the opening and closing text area brackets, text area tags.
Here.
No.
In
See
between the
see the correct end of line 31. Yes, there.
this one. Here.
See where it ends. It ends after required and the angle brackets.
Yes.
So that's where you put it.
Okay. Here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
So
are we? What are we doing?
Yeah.
form values
Is it
dot
here?
yes, form values dot message.
It's
Okay.
inside the test area.
Yes.
It's just the last thing.
Not the
Text.
last one. It's inside, like inside.
Okay.
See that angle bracket after required. Can you move it to the next line? Okay. Then now push the other thing, the form values, the curly braces to the next line as well.
Mm.
So it to be clear that it's inside the text area.
Exterior. Okay.
Yes, text area. If you want to actually write something inside the text area, it has opening and closing tags, so you write the thing like in between the opening and closing tags. Unlike inputs that just have one tag, they are self-closing, so they need a value
Yes.
property to set something like
Okay.
that. But text area is
Okay.
just like that.
Okay.
Okay. Um. Okay. So now we've set their values to what is in form values. So now we need an unchanged function that will constantly update those values whenever any change is made to those inputs. So if you check right now, if you do npm start, this is next, Abby. It's npm run dev.
Okay. Tell me now.
Yeah, npm run dev to start it up, and we go look at it in the browser. At this point now, you set the value to the state value, the values of these inputs. So if you make any changes, as long as the state is not changing, you won't see anything being written on the form, on the inputs.
Okay. So what do you want me to do now?
npm start.
npm run dev. It's
Okay, run
next.
dev. What's the difference between run dev and start?
This is next. It's not. It's not React. It's not like general React.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, I thought as much. I'll see this next on confidence. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's check it out on the browser.
Here.
Yeah. Scroll down. You should see it. Yeah. Okay. So try writing on. Remember we did for name and message, right?
Message.
So if you try writing on them, nothing should happen. Aha, nothing is happening. The same thing would
Reason
happen.
being,
Nothing's happening.
Try it for message as well.
Ah.
Stanley.
We also need to set a value property. Okay, go back.
Okay.
Go back to this thing. Think did they modify these things to have values? Try writing value in the text area. Let me see if it suits. to show up, like the way you wrote in the inputs.
Eh,
She puts value inside there and
Uh,
probably
is it my network that is
write
doing this one?
the same thing.
Okay.
Hello?
Aha, you can hear me again. I
Yeah, I
think
can hear you now.
my network decided to fall my hand before. And no, 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 not like this. Just comment out line 33 first.
Okay.
Okay, so write value maybe like after required. Let's see.
Like this.
Yeah, value. Okay, there's value actually. Okay, so value is equal to form values dot message. Okay, so let's look at the form again in the browser.
You have not answered me. Oh.
Yes. Okay, why is happening, Abby?
Yeah.
So it's happening because now you've set the value for um, for these inputs to that state form values, but currently form values, those values inside form values, they're all empty strings.
Okay.
So whenever you write something in those inputs, it doesn't care about what you're writing. All it cares about is
That's the empty
it has a value property. It's only going
and
to
it's empty.
take dressing from its hair, and that value property is empty, and it's only going to take
Okay.
dressing from that value property. As long as the value property doesn't change, what you see on the browser will not change.
Okay.
So we now have
If
to
you
write an onChange function that will constantly update that state. So once it updates the state, the value that the input is getting will change as well. So itself will change.
okay, please, you
Okay.
understand correctly.
Okay.
Thank you for that question.
Okay, that's what you
Anytime
wanted
you
to ask too.
yes, I was going to ask that after we tried the text area.
Okay, but I'm sure
So because eh?
yeah, continue.
Okay. So because we used empty strings there when we created that object, that's why it's to
That's
accept anything that we type inside the text
it's not
the inputs.
it's not because it's empty
That's why it's
string.
not accept.
It's because we
Okay.
if you write something else like that empty string now, you can put a inside there. If you refresh
Yeah.
your page, you are going to see a inside the name, input, and the other one. Uh-huh. But that a will
Okay.
not change because you are not changing.
Anything there.
You typing on the keyboard is not changing that state currently. So the state is just going to remain like that. And since the
Okay.
inputs are getting their value from that state, that is not changing, then nothing you do is going to make them change.
So
So
it's
that
like mirroring it.
exactly is mirroring what is in that form value state. So that's why we have to try and find a way to change that state whenever we write something on the keyboard. And that calls for an event listener. So we use the onChange event listener. Whenever a change is made, this function should run. So on the name and text text area inputs, add a new property. Um, sorry, it's
The name
attributes.
and text.
So you just add a new attribute on change. Small on, capital C for change. So you see all this on something, all those are event listeners, very plenty. So
Okay.
yeah, no, like that. So we're going to call it maybe handle input change. That name is fitting. Handle input change.
It's always handle every time handle.
Or you want input change handler.
No, no, handle is okay. It's like a default now.
Both of them are actually kind of the defaults. It's either something handler or handle something.
Handler. Okay.
So yeah, do the same thing for the text area. So now on change or on anything, event listeners, usually passing a function to them.
The name of the function is handle input
Yes, the name of the function is handle input
change.
change.
Hello, I can't hear you, Jesus. My network.
You can't hear me. How about now?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay. So if you notice,
The
normally
same function.
the same function. So if you notice, normally, how do I put it? Normally, when you try to write a function, to call a function, you put the brackets after it. But here, we are not writing the brackets. Did you notice
Makawai.
that? Makawai, no worry. Because we don't want the function to just run when it's not supposed to run. If you put brackets right now, then this function will be run at the beginning as well. Like once the page loads, the function will run. It won't wait for a change event to happen before it will run. To just run at the beginning, and you will have issues, or that will cause issues. So we normally just write the name of the function like that. It's the onchange. When the change event happens, this input will be the one to call the function itself, not just the page loading and the function runs. Okay, so now we go up and we'll now describe that function, handle input change. So
Before here or after?
after there, because you're going to no, not there, not there, not there. It will be after
Okay.
after the state line, somewhere after line 9.
God.
Okay, so inside handle input change, pass in e, and this, you are mixing up the terminologies. If you want to write it like this, then you say function handle input change.
Oh,
But if you want to do arrow function, then you do const.
but we can do our own function here, right?
Yes, you can do arrow function.
I thought that's what she wants to do now.
And
That's what I
normally,
wanted to do.
when you
When
see
I was,
const,
Eh,
that's what I wanted to do. Oh
const
Lord.
handle input change, yeah. The curly braces in call.
no,
No, no,
no,
no, no, no, no.
no.
Ah,
The other one. The other. Yeah, equals.
And now is the arrow.
what up, please?
Okay, so so now we first thing to do is to set form values, right? So on any change, it should set form values. So set form values.
Sorry, let me just write that. So
Okay.
set for value.
Or instead write update form values on any change. Update will make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so set form values.
Like this.
It's a function now that you described on line 9.
Sorry?
See the function set form values.
This one?
Yeah, that's what I want you to
Okay.
write. Remember, I said the use state returns a value and a function to change that value. So this
Yeah.
is the
The
function to
function
change form values.
the
So
value. Yeah.
brackets. So now this setter function that you get from useState, you can write a value inside, like straight up write a value, and to change the value, the state is supposed to change to that value. Or you can write a function, and then whatever that function returns will now be the new value of that state. So in this case, we're going to write a function inside the set form values. So brackets and then curly, no, not curly braces, arrow function. Is arrow function even necessary?
Bracket, another bracket, and Abby.
Brackets for the methods, and then arrow function.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the curly braces.
Okay.
Yeah, open it up to the next line. Okay, good. So now you see that bracket in the arrow function there. There are some situations where, um, actually, yes, you need it in this situation. Write prev state in there.
I should write what?
Prev states, like previous states.
Prev.
No, no, in that bracket in the set form values. The arrow function
Okay.
is set form values. So there are some
Prev.
situations where you need to get the current value of the state you want to change, and then make some changes to it and return that value. You understand? Like maybe you have a function that increases a number. Your state is like a number, maybe 0. You want to increase the number. So to increase the number, you need to know what the previous number was. Then you add 1 to it and return it back. So for
Okay.
any kind of function you want to write in your setting state function that requires you to manipulate the current state value, it has to be done like this. This is the only way you are sure that you will get the correct current value of that state. You write a function in the set form values, and you put one parameter in there. Whatever you name that parameter, it's going to give that name, that variable is going to be the current state. Okay, so let's see. Return on line 13. Because it uses what is returned from this function as the new value for the state, so we have to return something. So we're going to spread the object again. So spread, put curly braces since it's an object, then dot 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 form values. Awesome. Sorry, not form values, prev states. My bad. Because prev state at this point holds the value of form values. So now, comma.
Hey, I don't explain why we are spreading it to.
You see, one useful thing with objects is that you can write the same property in an object multiple times. But if you write a property in an object multiple times, the object would only take the last value. Like, let me say, in this situation now, we have name and message. If you write, nice, the broad light. If you write name, message, it will take the last values for name and message. Does that make sense?
No, I don't understand.
Okay, you see that initial form values.
Yes.
After line 4, write name again. Maybe make it AB. So let's scroll down and make sure that all the loose ends are tied up. Right? I think they're kind of tied up. Nothing will cause an error right now.
Okay.
Hey, but we said set state. Go up a bit. I think this is alright. So save and let's go to the browser. You will see that as we wrote name, message, name in these initial form values, that first name on line 3 will be, it will not be used. What will be used is the last one name AB. So
Is it
whenever,
because it's the same value?
because it's the last appearance of that property name. If you write another name
As
ABC,
if it's
write
reading
another name,
from top to
reading from
bottom.
top to bottom. So if it sees a property that it already has, it will just ignore the previous value of that property and take the new one.
Okay,
uh
okay. Because the property are the same name and name.
because the
So it
property
will not
name
take
is the same, so
this
it will just ignore
name.
it will look at it like an update. If you want to update an object, you just need to spread the object, put all the things that were inside the objects in there. That's what we're doing on line 14, and then add the new property with a value. So if that property doesn't exist before, no problem, it is now there. If the property exists before, it has basically updated the value of that property, or rather it has changed the value of
Inside
that property to the
14.
new one. So that's why I'm saying in line 14, first of all, just save this like this and let's go. You see that when you load the page, it's AB that you see in the name field.
Let's refresh.
Yeah, refresh.
Lord, my head.
No longer empty string.
Okay, the initial value.
Because
Okay,
initial value, it's now AB that is seen, not that empty
it's
string.
a
Okay.
okay.
So you can remove that line.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
So with this knowledge now, how do you think you should change things on line 13?
On line 13.
So remember what I said, you want to put a new value in an object. You just write curly braces, spread the original object in there, then add the new property and the value. So how would you write it?
The property
You
name.
What's the property name?
wait, though. Wait. No, I'm not answering the question. No. But that's how it's supposed to be now without the spread. Or the spread made you to pick the last one.
Do you know
I
what the
think
That
spread
was
the
the
is? Do you
spread.
know what the
spread.
spreading is?
I was thinking spread is just to bring out all the things inside an object.
Exactly, to bring out, so like there's name and message already inside form values. So
Yes.
this spreading of pref state is just basically bringing the current values of name and message and putting there.
Inside here.
That's what this pref state is. So if you write another name or message, yeah, that becomes the new
New one.
new value for name and message. No.
Like this, like this.
No, not quite. Okay, for example, if you wanted to update name, you would write name
Name and the
colon
new
name
and
colon
the new
the value.
name of the new
Exactly.
name. Okay. Fine. That's the structure. Giving it a new name. What's going to be the value of the new name?
First of all, remove message and that comma.
Okay.
So to get a value from an input, e.target. Have you heard of e.target?
Yeah. Yeah, I think yes.
So
Please explain too.
The target the
in
value.
JavaScript,
Mm.
it's actually event.target. When you event.target, will I say, returns the element that initiated that or triggered that event. Yes, the function that triggered that event. So in this situation now, this is an unchanged event. It will be called by either the name input or the message input, depending on the one you're writing on. So the particular one that triggered the function is going to now be what will be returned on e.target or event.target. So that e we're passing in there is the event.
In this case, the unchanged event.
Yeah, in this case the unchanged event. So when you say e.target, you are referring to whatever element called this function.
That's input or
And
what?
that's either name input or message input in this case, because
Okay, because we added.
those are the two things that can possibly call this function.
Okay.
So
And that's because you
Please,
added
can you repeat? Please,
function.
can you repeat? I know I'm dragging you back.
when you write a function like this for an event listener, you have the option of passing in a parameter called event. And if you do event.target, it will return the element that calls that function, the element that triggered that event. So this is an unchanged event, and we put it in the name inputs and the message text area. So whichever of them triggers this event, makes this function to run, this handle input change function to run, event.target will return that particular input. So you can now, will I say, try and get attributes from that input. For example, you can get .name to find the name of the input, or .value to get the value of the input. You can even say .type to get the type of the input, .id to get the ID of. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, so you are able to access the attributes inside input when you do the the event dot target,
Yeah.
since it is the input that's
Will
called
you
that.
do? Will you do like e dot target dot value? Because normal JavaScript
Yes.
script is always dot value.
e.target.value. Exactly.
Then, but normal JavaScript is dot value only.
And normal JavaScript is .value because you've already assigned that input to a variable. For example, now this name input, you will probably say, let's name input be equal to
Documents
document dot
dot
get
element.
element by
Okay.
ID, blah blah blah. So you are basically saying document dot get element by ID, maybe name input dot value. That's actually what you are saying. So in this situation, it's the same thing. E.target will return that document dot get element by something. It will return that element, so dot value after it, or dot name, or dot type, dot ID, to get whatever values you want from it. So in this situation, we want the value from that whatever input. So what would you
Sorry,
write?
my last question.
Yeah.
So that is, we are able to do that because you have imputed this on change handle input here. We put it here, right?
Yes,
If
that's
we
why we can do that.
Okay, like this email input now can't do that at the moment
It
because we
can't do
don't
that.
have the function.
Yeah, it can't do that.
It doesn't have the function.
Okay. So what do you want me to put here now?
That's what I'm asking you now.
That's valid.
Okay, so now there's a problem with this. We're going to find it out later. Yes. So save. Okay. One other thing. Can you scroll down again? I saw some places where you wrote class instead of class name. So just keep that in mind that you'll change those later.
Oh,
Class
yeah.
name.
Or you can even change it now.
Oh, Jesus Christ, what have I done?
On line 36 as well.
Line 36.
Class. It is broken down, so it's looking like that. Okay. So
I'm done.
So let's go check out the browser.
Okay.
So we're going to see a very
I remove
interesting
this.
situation.
Hey, Jesus.
I can't refresh.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. So, do you guys have any idea of the error that we're expecting to see?
Undefined.
Undefined? No. Something will change. It's just that
When we try to do the form.
sometimes not the correct thing will change. Mm, don't worry, you will soon know. Currently in that object, no matter what, you're back.
Okay.
Okay, so refresh the form and try typing in the name input.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, you wrote Joyce. That's lovely. So go to the text area and write something else.
You know what is happening?
Are you sure nothing is happening? Be
You think
writing.
it's been tracking, is erasing what I typed.
Yeah, so why do you think that's happening?
Maybe because we have not yet done anything for message.
No, that's not why. Well, kind of. Okay, let's go back to the code.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
see,
yeah, yeah, I'm back.
uh,
Welcome.
so on line 13,
Okay.
the only thing you are changing is name.
Mm.
Yeah, this is not. Sure, you are getting the value dynamically depending on what input the person is changing, but the property of this state that you are changing is only name. You are not changing message. There is no situation that will make you change message. So that's what's causing it. That's why when you write on name, yes, name will change. If you write on text area, name will still change because you are only changing name, the name property of this of the initial form values, or rather the form values object. So
Can we still do comma message and do this target stuff?
what that means is that you are changing both of them at the same time.
Time. Okay.
You want to
Okay.
change it depending on which one
What is
is
typed?
calling the event. So just like you did e.target.value, don't you think you can do e.target.name? That's why I
It.
made sure that in these form values, the properties used was the same thing as the names of those inputs. So you see, we used name and message because those inputs were given the name and message.
Okay. So
So
my
that
my my my
uh
error was used value instead of name.
no, your error was the value is the value. The
Mm.
error was this name you wrote here. Name
This
is,
one.
yes, is fixed. Name is fixed. Like even if the text area calls this function, it's still name that will be changed. So you should have written that name in a dynamic way, in a way that if it is a text area that calls the function, it will be message that will be here.
Oh.
That's why I said e.target.name. So it's the name of the target that would be in that position, and it will now be given the value of e.target.value.
So I should just put any other thing aside from name.
I say you should put e.target.name. With e.target.name, you can get the name of that element that called the function.
Do you mean like this?
Yes, like that.
Eh.
However, put that e.target.name in square brackets.
Why? Okay.
Why is because when you write something in an object like this, if you just write e.target.name, it's looking at it as a property name. It's not looking at it as a variable. That's why you are even seeing those red lines under some things, because it was like, in a variable name there can't just be dot now. Sorry, in a property name inside an object. Anyhow, if you're trying to change properties in an object dynamically, like you don't know what is there, you are trying to put a variable to say, hey, is this variable the value of this variable that you should check for that property and give it this value. you have to put it in square brackets.
Square brackets.
That's when it will see that thing as a variable. If you just write it normally, it will see it as a string and try to look for that string exactly. Like not, it won't look at it as a variable. Sure. Okay. So if you notice now, this would work because in initial form values, we put the names of the properties as name and message, and in the HTML part of this whole thing, those inputs, name and message, were actually giving the name and message. Okay. So when, let's say, the name input calls the function, e.target.name is actually name. So yeah, it would now change the name property. If it is the text area that calls the function, e.target.name is message. So this will change. Does that make sense?
That last part, I got confused with the last part. The e.target.name to change. Just me a bit. Can you
Okay.
just come again on that?
Okay. Scroll down to the inputs. Remember how I said e.target returns whatever called the function,
Yeah.
right? Mhm. So that's e.target.name would look for the name attributes of that element. On line 36, you can see the input element there. The value of the name attributes is name.
Name.
If you look at the text area, line 38, it has a name attribute as well, and the value is message.
Message.
So if text area calls the function, e.target.name is going to be message. Does that one make sense?
Okay.
So there is no need
E.target.
to write message again since the
Uh-huh.
name will cover it.
You can't, it's not even right self to write message up there because you don't know which one will
Okay.
change now. You want to change only the one that is being,
Called.
is being called, and you don't know which one that will be. So you have to now use a variable to get it.
Since
Dynamic.
they have a common value, a common stuff like name, right?
Name is an attribute that is given to input,
Attribute that is common.
and you can get that value with event.targets. So that's why we use it. So now you can go back and try writing on the form.
Okay.
But you have message there now.
Message where?
Go up. Go up, sorry. Oh, value. Oh. Wow. I'm seeing it now.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, I get it. I get it.
Okay, so try
They
writing on the
replace
form.
that name that we use
Okay, wait.
with
Add one more
target.
thing. Add one more thing.
Okay.
Before the set form values. Oh, no. Remove the comma. Before the
Nothing
set,
else. You
or
just
maybe after the set form values, just console log e.target.name, comma
inside the
e.target.value.
function.
Inside the function.
Inside the function.
Okay.
You are inside the function.
I was outside the set form function.
No, I want it outside the set form function, but inside handling heat
Okay.
change. Also,
Okay.
there are set form values. Can you indent it forwards so that you can
Identify.
uh, mark it all and press tab so it will move right?
Mark what?
It's set form values
Select all of
12,
them.
13, 14. Mark them, press tab. So it will be clear that they are inside handling input change.
Okay.
Try to make sure that the lines, you see those vertical lines between consts and where the curly bracket, that line, let it not be
Okay.
broken.
Okay.
e.target.name, comma e.target.value.
Okay.
Awesome. So save. Okay, it's already saved. Let's see the browser. Open the console. Okay, try writing in the inputs.
Should I write what?
In the inputs.
The input. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this really the console?
Is this really the console? Let me. I think this is the console. Mhm.
Oh well, console.
Let me.
Okay, show JavaScript console. Maybe that's that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it. So name J, name JO, name JOY. Every time you make a change, something
It's
gets
up.
logged.
It's
So try maybe writing on the message input. Message, see, every single change is logged. So that's what's happening. Anytime you make a change, something happens. Delete something. Delete
and
one
it's
thing.
saving it. Okay.
Aha. So that's the new value, e.target.value log L. It will take that, assign it, make a change to the form value state. And since the form value state changes, what you see in the input will change as well. So I believe using state to manage the values of inputs is clear, Abby.
User state to manage the values and inputs. Yeah. So this last one now, this last choice is what we take. And this last say is what we take.
You are looking at it as just the last choice, but at the first point you typed only J, so it took J.
Yeah.
Next you added O, so it saw J O. This is like every step of the way.
Updating.
Every step of every update, every step of the way is what this was showing up.
So
So
this is what it means used by using states
yes, once you
to
make any change
update.
on change, once you make any change, there will be a new e.target.value, a new value for that input. So it will just change the value, in the state. And once that value is changed in the state, what you see in the input will change as well because it's taking its values from the state. It's
Okay.
kind of like a roundabout way to do things, but yeah. So I believe this is clear. Cassie, priceless. Nobody has issue, Abby.
So this is
Yeah,
our
yes,
purpose of using states.
Yes, this is the purpose of using state. So at any point in time, you need value from that input. You don't need to worry about the inputs themselves. Just go to form value states, and you have all the values. You will get all the values from the
Form
inputs.
value. Sorry.
The form value states. Yeah. Okay. So now, we've not been looking at email so far. If you write an email, sure you will see it, no problem. So we're going to use ref. There's something called refs in React. We use that one to try and get the value of the email input. Well, before that, let's look at the submit button. So now, just like there's an event for making changes to an input, there's an event for submitting a form. Like it fires when you click the submit button or you press enter in a form, and that will fire. Okay, so we'll put an event listener on the button. You can either put it on the button or on the form, but both of them would work. I don't know. It's up to you, Sha, depending on how you want to do it. I like to put it on the button.
Okay, so that when we click on the button, it just
Uh-huh.
someone will not click outside the button, not
There was one weird situation I ran into.
And it will still respond when someone
Yeah, it will still respond.
that is if you don't put it on the button itself, right?
Sorry, ask the question again.
Like what you said is that we can put it anywhere.
You can put it on the
Either on the
button or on the form. So it will be
what I'm saying
on
is that
submit.
when you say on the form, do you mean
Like,
on the
where is the
up
form?
here?
Yes, the form element that all these things are inside. You can put it there.
Mm.
So if somebody were to click enter at any point, that would fire. And like,
Fire. Oh, okay. I
so
want to put
anyhow,
it in the
yeah,
button.
I like to put it on the button. So on submit, we can call it handle form submit or form submit handler.
Now let's use handle form submit.
Okay, so back up, you describe form sub on handle form submit. It's good practice to leave a space between things. Yeah, so like you did that is okay, but between line 9 and line 10 there should have been a space.
Line 9 and line 10. Okay.
Okay, now you've changed things. Yeah, okay. You also pass E as well, because you also need events. Okay, so this is customary. This is like basic stuff. In submit functions, in JavaScript, e.prevent default is the first thing that should come to your mind, because the default function of submit buttons, part of it is to refresh the page, but we don't want that to happen. We don't want the page to be refreshed. So e.prevent default would cancel all the default actions of the submit button and allow you to specifically define what should happen when the button is clicked. E.prevent default with brackets.
Sorry, what was that last thing? It defaults, it prevents the default action of the submit button and allows you.
To describe exactly what should happen. So it would ignore what is normally designed to happen by HTML, and it will only follow your code.
Okay. So what should I write?
E dot
Prevent.
prevent defaults.
Am I writing it correctly?
Yeah, but add the brackets after it, because it's a method.
Okay.
So hover on itself. Let's see what they look like. Okay, hover on the method in brackets. I just saw something pop up at some point. It's gone. Hard lock. Okay.
Are we
So now, console log, remove or just cut out the console log from line 16 and take it to after line 20. Change the e.target.name, e.target.value, change it to form values. Like, just remove both of them and write form values. So when you click the submit button, you should get a console log of form values.
and
Nothing, just form values.
only form values?
Okay, so save and look at the browser.
No more. A lot of things are open. Okay.
Refresh so that all this will go away. Okay, so write something's name and message. Okay, click submit. Right. Okay, write something in the email because it's because of the required. There is no. I think you have to put an at, yeah. Add something.
It doesn't mean.
Okay, submit.
Yeah.
Ah, jeez.
I'm not on the right place, like this.
You are, but something didn't go right because it's still refreshed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I return? I
Wait.
don't know
Let's
if I
let's
returned.
let's look at the code. Handle form submits. We have e.prevent defaults. That should stop it from. I think everything is alright here. Just go back and refresh the page.
Okay. Should I try it again?
Yeah,
What is
try.
all this warning all about?
One was.
It's about some images that were used somewhere. They are missing a property.
Okay.
Those ones can be changed later.
I should click submit.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
nice.
still did that again.
It's still submitting, Is there supposed to be a target on that e dot something dot prevent
No,
some?
it's just e.prevent default. Let me see. Handle form submit. Let's go down to where you wrote it in the button. Handle form submit. This is very interesting. Okay, just to be safe, cut it out from there and put it on the form. Let's just see if that will work. But normally it's supposed to work on the button as well.
Regardless.
Yeah, go to the form.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so save and refresh this and write again.
Okay. Wow. So you wanted us to put on the phone.
Oh, okay. Your,
It has gone.
your screen is frozen. I'm not seeing any changes.
Ah.
Me too. I can't see the message.
The last thing I'm seeing is glory
Now come.
gmail.com. No, I'm still seeing only
Nothing.
glory at gmail.com.
Okay, let me stop presenting and present again.
Okay.
Oh Jesus.
Can you see now?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see it. Okay, so you can see name and message. So this is how you can get values from, what do they call it? From inputs. With state management. At the click of a button. At the click of a button, you want to package all the values from those inputs and send somewhere or do something with them. Okay, so now let's look at the useref method. We'll use that for the email. So back to the code.
Okay.
Okay, somewhere at the top, maybe
Somewhere at the
before,
top.
go to somewhere at the top.
Like here. Or before it.
Let me see, maybe after line 9.
After line 9. Okay.
So you can call it email ref. So const email ref is equal to use ref. No.
Are you typing?
I've started typing now. Can you see?
Nah.
Okay, I'm seeing you on. Actually, I when I said the line 9, it was that state stuff that was on line 9. So maybe after the state
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
You mean like here?
Currently line 12. So
Okay.
after that const form values, blah blah
Let's put
blah.
a space.
Yeah, put a space.
That's
Before
line
and
13.
after.
Please, can you see her?
Uh,
This.
I'm seeing, but the thing is not changing. Okay, it's now it has
Oh,
changed.
yeah, it's okay now.
And
So is line 13 okay?
yeah, it's okay.
Alright.
So const email ref is equal to use ref.
Email ref.
Yeah, capital R. Yeah.
What are we doing now?
We are trying to use ref. Remember I told you the 2 ways of managing or getting values from inputs.
Email.
So the first one was state. We've already seen that. This one is with ref. Use ref. So email const email ref is equal to use ref. It's another React hook.
Okay.
You see, React hooks usually start with use. Use something.
Yeah.
So use ref. You can click that to update the. Let's scroll up and this thing should be updated. The imports.
The import.
Use ref has been updated.
Honestly, that used to look strange when I see it.
Okay.
It's not strange anymore, right?
No.
So use ref. You write null in it.
Beside it.
Yes.
Like this.
Yes. Null. So now go to the email inputs. Then write ref. Ref is an attribute for React elements. Ref is equal to email ref.
Okay. Where should I put it? Anywhere.
Anywhere inside input, as long as it's the email input.
Ref.
Yes.
Like this.
Yeah. Then back up to the form submit handle form submit function. Okay. So now in the console log, we have console log form values. Then you can put comma email ref dot current dot value.
Explain.
So you remember how e.target, if it was an on change function or something, e.target can get you the element that triggered that function, right? So when you are using refs, you create a ref, you assign the ref to an element, and at any point in time you can say that ref dot current, and it will return the elements. So in this situation, email ref dot current would return email ref, and then you can now do stuff you normally do on an input, like maybe dot value, dot name, dot type, dot focus, dot blur, those kinds of things. Do you understand?
Email ref dot current dot value.
Email ref will return is an object that has one property, which is current.
Okay.
So the current is what will return the element in question, the element you've assigned that ref to. You created the ref, email ref, initialized it as null, but you set it to that element called the email input element. So as long as the email input element exists, the value of email ref dot current will change to return that input, that element that you assigned email ref to.
So what she wrote down there is ref, email ref.
The ref
Like
of this element is email ref. So whenever you look at, whenever you try to,
can you go down, Joy?
ref is
Okay,
equal to email
okay,
ref.
small
So
r.
whenever you try to access email ref, you will see current. If you try to access the current inside email ref, you will see that element email, that's input element email. And you know that for input elements you can do dot value to get their value, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let me see. There is one small problem with this. I think in this situation this is going to work, but just for the sake of telling you, when you are using refs, you know how, if you notice, things load twice in React. I don't know how to put it. Okay, yes, if you are using refs, like you are using refs to try and access an element, there is a possibility that at some point in the loading of the whole thing, it won't see that element. JavaScript won't see that element because maybe the element has not loaded yet. So it can be null or it can be the element. That ref.current can be null or it can be the element.
Okay.
So currently, if you do try it, you will see it. So what we normally do is, you see that email ref.current, before the dot after it, we put a question mark. So that means if there's no, just between the current and the dot, you just put a question mark. There, exactly. So this is like, if email.current exists, like if it's a truthy value, if it's not null or undefined, then find the value attributes, find the value property inside it and return it. If it is null, no problem, it will not continue, so there won't be any error, because I'm sure you've seen this error before, something like cannot find so value of null. Have you ever encountered the error in JavaScript?
I can't remember.
Value of no.
Even you too, Cassie, you've not seen it. Cannot find property value of null, or cannot find property value of undefined. You've never run into that error. You've not. Okay.
I think we have.
No problem. On line 22, console log email ref.current.value.
This my laptop is not charging.
22 email ref
Yes.
dot
Current.
I think I will join you guys.
Dot value.
Like I'll work and come back.
No
please.
problem. Okay. So let's go back to the form. I think this has saved. Refresh. Aha, lovely. You can see that. Cannot read properties of null reading value. And you see where it's showing you the error, right?
yes, because
Because
email
in the first
is
render,
not
email ref is null. Because it will read all that code before it will render the JSX. Like all the codes you wrote before the return, they will run before you now get to the return. So when you're using just as you see where it's even putting the error mark, said line 22,
Yeah.
and you see the problem is the dot. So go back to that line 22 and put a question mark before the dot, and we'll see whether
Oh,
this error will come out again.
very fair.
Yeah, refresh.
No.
No error. You see, line 22 is probably showing nothing. It loaded. It loaded twice. Contact section JSX22 twice. The first time is nothing because, well, the thing was null, so nothing came out. The second time it will just show empty string because it's empty string. So like I was saying, when you write codes in these function elements, the code will run before the JSX is loaded. Then some things will run again. So that's why we have to put question mark for refs, like ref.current question mark then dot whatever you want to do, because in that first run that element does not exist in that email.current, in that ref.current. So I think that one is clear, Abby.
I think so.
I think so. Okay, so try writing in the fields. I think you have to write 3 of them since they are all required. Then if you click submit form, since we put a console log,
Why does it keep running twice?
running twice. Oh, it's because of strict mode. React does strict mode. It makes things run twice, I think, for some reason to catch errors. But in production, outside your laptop, like when the whole thing has been built and all, it won't run twice.
Oh, we have the email now.
So you
But
see,
the email
this
is not inside the. Okay, because we not put it here. Okay,
yeah,
just a
yeah.
function.
So it's up to you to decide which one you want to use in your project. Whether the using state is called controlled inputs, using refs is called uncontrolled inputs.
Uncontrolled inputs.
Yes.
What's
So
not the difference?
the difference, you can't control what goes inside it. Without using states, you can't. With states, you have an unchanged function. You have full control over what enters the input. If you decided, you could write a function that says, if the thing that is written, what the person wrote is maybe a number, don't let it enter the input. It can happen. So if they write only letters will enter, numbers will not enter. But in the ref method, you can't control what happens. You only let whatever happens happen, and then later on you can just use the ref and quickly get the value. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. Another issue is that with controlled inputs, you can validate on writing. So let me say, as somebody is writing now, writing password for you've seen some places you are writing password, something will be changing below, maybe telling you the strength of the password or whether there are some errors, like it needs capital letters, or right now you don't have any capital letters, there is no number inside. The moment you write a number, that error message will go away. It can only happen with controlled inputs, because on change you are checking the value. Does it contain all the things it should contain? Does it follow this standard? That kind of thing. So that's controlled inputs. Or rather, that's one reason why people do controlled inputs, for validation, like real-time validation. The moment it's happening, it's checking it. Does it meet standards? If it's not, it throws an error. Okay, so now that we've seen the ref method, we are not going to use it because we like control.
At what point do people prefer to use the ref method instead of the dates?
I guess if they don't have any need for validation, That's really the main thing.
Oh,
It's really validation that makes people want to use control inputs. Although it's still possible to do validation with the ref method, it's just at the point of clicking, like when you click the button, the submit button, then the thing will now validate. If it doesn't pass the validations, it will not move
they will
forward.
now go back again.
It will now
I'll
bounce
be
you back
frustrated if I'm a
and tell
user.
you error. So I guess in a long form, that's very annoying. In a short form like this, maybe problem not today, sure. But if it was those forms
Still
that
get
have like 8 to 10 fields or 8 and above fields, after writing, you go down and click submit. It will now tell you go back up. There's an error. Sometimes, those ones are even, sometimes all the things you've written will wipe away. So now tell you fill them back, but make this one correct. This is just annoying. Okay, so we'll go back and change that. We'll remove the ref. Maybe you can just comment it
okay.
so that you remember that this is what use ref is for. But you will have to, you can still leave the ref is equal to email ref, just that you won't use it.
And where is it again? Here.
That one you can comment it. Okay, no, just leave it.
Okay.
Just that I will not use it. So you can. so it's vexing for you.
Okay.
So you can now edit the initial form values object, put email inside, and then put on change on the email input, put a value property. I'm sure you know what to write in all these places.
All this on change that everything that we just did now.
Those things that we did for the other inputs, just do them for
That's
them.
that's the on change and then
A value.
are you
property.
asking if we can do it from the beginning again?
No, I'm saying you should
Oh,
do
you're
them
asking me
for
to do
email
something.
inputs.
Oh, okay. Do same for email input.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So give it an unchange, give it a form, a value, and then the initial values up there, edit it and add email inside.
Edit the add.
Email inside.
What does this keep doing?
You are on autosave now, so at every step of the time, every step of the process, it's a change.
What's the name?
Yeah.
And email change.
No, it's the same input function now. See, remember, we use the same inputs, handle input everywhere.
Okay, since we are still using the same
Yeah.
state.
Don't forget to add value.
So
Okay, so now go all to initial form values. Add email. So if you are curious as to what will happen if you don't add email in your initial values, let's try it out. Comment out the line where you added email. Line 6. Yeah. Actually, you don't need to mark it to comment it. As long as the cursor is on that line, you can just control / and to comment.
okay.
Okay, so save and let's refresh the browser. Try writing in the email. Let me see.
Everything or just the email?
Just the email.
Okay. Nothing is happening. Okay.
Yeah, something happened. Okay. Anyhow, I was expecting that I would see undefined at the beginning, but no wahala.
It's showing it's showing undefined.
And this one is
Console.
different. Contact section 22. This was that console log that we did.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Go up a bit. That error I'm seeing. A component is changing an uncontrolled input to be controlled. This is likely caused by the value changing from undefined to a defined value, which should not happen. Okay. It decides between using a controlled or uncontrolled input element for the lifetime of the input. So this is talking about the email element, email input,
Okay.
because it wasn't giving a value.
Oh,
Like in the initial state, there was no email. Then all of a sudden, because of that unchanged function, email now suddenly entered inside. So that's why this error is coming out.
so this explains the need to put the email
Email, yes,
inside the object.
yeah.
Did I still leave these ones?
Which ones?
Line 23.
Line 20. No, remove line 23. It was just to show something.
And I should still leave line 14.
Do you think you need to see it? You can comment it out. I don't know what you do now. Okay, you write. You also write comments. Yeah, comment it out. Remove the email ref.current.value in line 26. Delete it completely. No, leave the console log, Sha.
Okay, just
It's
the
just the,
inside.
yeah, delete the. Okay, then in the email input, down to the email input. Just so you remember what ref looks like. Where is the ref? Ref is equal to. Okay, you remove the ref stuff.
I removed it and replaced it with unchanged.
Okay, no wahala then.
But you wanted me to have it there so that I can remember what it looks like.
If you think you can remember without.
Just
Why
just
did we
get
change it?
Why what?
Why did we change it?
Because we like using control inputs. I only just made an example with the email input just to show how uncontrolled inputs are used. So no issues. All right. So that function now is not necessary anymore.
which one? This one.
No, the one I told you to write yesterday that will check, that all fields are not empty
Oh, okay.
because of the required. The form will not even HTML will not even allow it to click if any of the fields are empty. So that one is not required anymore. So let me see. We talk about validation. Let's leave validation for now. So onto submitting the form. Did I put any of this thing in there? Ha 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 ha. Okay, so in the submit function, handle submit.
The submit function.
Yeah, up there. Okay. So at this point, we can just get form values holds all the values that we need, right? So we can now look into sending the values of the form. can use fetch. Have you ever done anything with fetch?
I have it's been a while.
You
I
have, it's
have
been a
actually.
while. So you can either use fetch and then have some dot thens after it to do stuff, or you use an async function.
I think I wait.
Sync await.